All right, good afternoon. So it's an absolute pleasure to be back in Berlin here on stage. We have a bit of a twofold presentation, so we will talk about accelerating time to patient. We heard that a couple of times today, so this is something that is obviously occupying a lot of thoughts, a lot of presentations, a lot of companies currently right now, or actually for a long time. What we will talk about today is, what additional tools can we implement in order to accelerate time to patient beyond MES? So it is an MES conference, but there's also a world outside of MES that we need to consider here. And I'm doing that not completely on my own, as Paul also said. I have a little bit of help from my friends, so Nico will take over the second part of the presentation, also with a practical example how this has been implemented and executed at Bayer. And also I would like to thank Andreas Eschbach and the team for providing the slot for us, giving that to us so that we can provide that presentation here. The big question is, are we really digital when we are talking about our manufacturing processes? So for the last, 25 years, something like this, we have been implemented various systems in manufacturing. MES is one of them, maybe the most important one when we are talking about manufacturing processes, but it's not the only one. And it's not the only one when we are also talking about actually batch release at the end of the day. So there are multiple informations from various systems that we need to take into consideration. And what I and also Nico would like to invite you to is to think a little bit also beyond, let's say, the traditional system landscape and what can we do in order to provide information and data that help us to release products or to accelerate at the end of the day the release of products. As I said, I'm doing that on behalf of eschbach, who I'm working with as an advisor. So my history goes a little bit back in this conference, as Paul already said, being here on that stage for a couple of years. When we are talking about, why does time to patient matters? So why do we need to bring the product faster out of the door and to the patient? So one of them is, we need to have reliability in our supply chain. So patients are waiting for our products, and there need to be a certain reliability that we can deliver on time to our patients here. The other thing is, it's also a competitive advantage for companies in order to support the supply chain with their production processes and having products faster to the market. And then also, of course, it has an impact on patient outcomes. I mean, at the end of the day, when we are receiving a medicine, a treatment from our doctors, which is delivered either through a hospital or through a pharmacy, at the end of the day, we as a patient, and this is part of the system, of the environment that we are working in, we're going to trust that medication, we're going to trust that treatment, and we're also going to trust that we're going to get this treatment. So that also means we need to have reliability and trust in our supply chain in order to get the medicine to our patients at the end of the day. And there are certain factors which are contributing to that and maybe also not contributing to that, so which are contradictory to that. So if we're having delays in our manufacturing process, if we are having delays in order to deliver our batches to the market, there's a patients waiting for that. And depending a little bit on, not only a little bit, I mean, depending on the nature of the therapy, depending on the nature of the medicine that we are producing, I mean, this is urgently needed, and there is no time that we're going to spend and delay for whatever reasons, delivery to our patients. And the reasons that very often that we are failing in order to deliver on time or to accelerate also delivery to our patients is because we have fragmented organizations. We are spending time in meetings to make decisions based upon data that is sitting also in fragmented systems. Even if we have implemented systems like MES for manufacturing execution, then we have implemented LIMS for our quality control. We have deviations that we are managing in a system which is called QMS and so on and so forth. So all that data is sitting in various systems. And if we don't have that overview about all the data, it's very hard to make a decision in order to release a batch at the end of the day. And this is what we are talking about here. So what do we need to do in order to get that overview? And a lot of companies, that's at least what we have seen in the last, whatever, 10 or 15 years, have created on top of that system landscape systems. And when I'm saying systems, I very often talk about meeting notes on paper. I'm talking about meetings and decisions being made in meetings. I'm talking about Excel spreadsheets where we're gathering data which is needed in order to get that oversight from various system sources. So, because or we need to have a couple of people sitting in a meeting looking at whatever dashboards coming out of different systems. So what we are now talking about is, well, beyond MES, there should be a system which provides us that oversight. Well, where are we with our batch in production? I mean, what is the status currently of our batch in production? So now imagine we are talking about production facilities with a certain complexity where we are not only just producing one batch, so we are producing multiple batches. So which means it's not only that we have to understand what is the status in regards of production status and also delivery into the supply chain of one single batch. I mean, it's the status that an organization as manufacturing and supply chain, very often generally named as technical operations, needs to understand for multiple batches that are either planned or in various stages in the production process until the delivery, whatever, to the market or to the patient at the end of the day. So there are certain decisions that need to be made, and they need to be made based upon the data that we're going to get there. So if you're looking, saying, well, isn't that an MES that it's supposed to do? I mean, isn't that MES that it should deliver us all that manufacturing oversight? Probably yes and probably no, because, I mean, what an MES doesn't do is it's not taken all the information and data that is required from all the other systems that are needed. Yeah, as I talked before, I mean, that fragmented data landscape and information landscape that we have across other systems like QMS, LIMS, and so on and so forth. So MES is responsible for the execution of the batch, but it's not actually providing that contextualization of the information that we need in order to release a batch at the end of the day. So, I mean, as I said, I mean, there are various systems involved at the end of the day. So what we need to ask ourselves, having that fragmented system landscape, fragmented organization, do we provide the right information to the right people at the right time to make decisions in regard of batch delivery and batch status? So what actually is our proposal here? So our proposal is, well, let's create something like a digital platform. And that's one of the reasons maybe that we used Excel and other tools 10 years ago or in the past. We didn't have the tools at hand. But now we have various tools where we can create that platform which provides us the connectivity to MES, LIMS, QMS, and others, ERP and other sources in order to get all that information to empower teams to make the decisions on the shop floor. So, and other than Excel, we don't need to enter all that data manually. We just retrieve it via connectivity out of our systems. And all that in order to make decisions faster and accelerating at the end of the day our batches faster to the market. I'm not talking about fancy AI tools that automatically release the batch at the end of the day. That may come and may not come. So, I mean, this is a debate that we heard that in some presentations earlier today that is ongoing. I personally don't see that we have an automatic batch release via an AI tool in the foreseeable future, but I think what we need to do is we need to give our operators, our teams, the right information at the right time in the hand in order to make their decisions. And with that, I would like to hand over to Nico to give us a practical example how that was implemented, used, and empower the operator at Bayer.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, thank you especially for a pretty concise and also informative overview of what, so to say, can lie beyond an MES system if you think about digitalization in production in the pharmaceutical environment. As said, I'm Nico. I do work at Bayer as project manager for digital and site-wide projects at the supply center in Bergkamen particularly. And this is also where I brought some examples for you in order to showcase how we, as you mentioned, implemented ShiftConnector to reduce the burden of myriads of tools we were using before, facilitating new workflows that make things faster, and also then at the end empower people on the shop floor to make decisions faster. I'm pretty sure nobody has lived under a rock since the past 175 years, so we'll keep the introduction about Bayer short. We are one of the leading pharmaceutical companies in the world, among the top 10, 20, depending on which therapeutic area you look in, focusing on breakthrough technologies to transform patient health. Health for all, hunger for none, that's what you're going to hear probably also from some other lovely colleagues that are presenting at this conference. There was Timo Flessner this morning about product-centric steering. There's more presentations to come about actual MES systems. As said, this one's going to take a little bit outside of the MES space and talking about ShiftConnector at Bayer Product Supply. And not to bore you with the KPIs from our quarterly town halls, if you look at the top right corner, we have around 93,000 employees. And I did a little digging, little fun fact for you, 25% of the people who work in our product supplies in the manufacturing organization do currently have an active ShiftConnector account, which is actually quite a lot. And what these people do with it, I have, as said, brought some examples. Manufacturer or like operators on the shop floor, as the speaker from Novo Nordisk said, are not directly invited, but I took the time to have some phone calls and brought some of the gossip with me, in quotation marks. Short introduction about the site in Bergkamen. It's one of our API farmers or API production sites. It's located in the western part of Germany, close to Dortmund, Ruhrgebiet, Cologne area, for those who are not German and do not know the area. Regarding the products we produce in Bergkamen, it's around 24% of the financial contribution of our products that we sell, mostly in women's health care and actually quite a lot in radiology. And also, the list is not complete. The largest fraction then is renal products. It's a quite broad portfolio, mostly small molecules. Yeah, you see it here on the picture. It looks like a manufacturing site, probably all around the world looks like. So far, so good. What is the problem now that we're trying to solve with ShiftConnector? Why is there a problem that you probably also in other companies do have, and how does ShiftConnector help you with? I'm not sure how much you do Google your own company from time to time. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not so funny. But here I took a little screenshot of what, so to say, the external coverage of Bayer is. We have a new CEO since 2.5 years almost, who is heavily pushing for agilization of our operation model in the entire company. It's called dynamic shared ownership. And this also, so to say, is an essential part of how we operate on the shop floor more and more. Didn't start from day one, but we're getting into making decisions faster by taking them through people who are, so to say, firsthand, those who have the information. Before, that was not looking like that. We had 6 levels of hierarchy at the supply center, from site head to shift operator. A lot of silos, if you want to say. There's the engineering function, there's the supply chain function, yada, yada, yada. Also, a lot of steering committees for this and that. And if you especially look at the digitalization aspect, I mean, this Pharma AI Readiness Index came out a couple of weeks, months ago, I think, over the summer. Bayer ranks number 3 here, but just because AI readiness is high doesn't mean that, so to say, all problems are solved. I'm pretty sure that's no secret information, if you want. So the digitalization landscape at we.CONECT was looking a bit heterogeneous, fragmented systems, also quite old legacy systems. So how do we get out of it? Or with what? Shift connector, in this case, was how it arrived, so to say, at we.CONECT in the first instance, is, you see here on the right, especially due to the, it has a bit in the name, shift connector. You can pretty neatly display a shift handover, so from morning shift to evening shift, or whatever shift model you're running. This is, so to say, one of the core functionalities that you have in shift connector. Example from one of the production plants we have on site, they have been doing an Excel sheet for every shift handover since around, I think they said 2007. So 3 times a day, 365 days a year, that's around about 20,000 Excel files, which is impressive, but not necessarily in a good way. I mean, it's good that it's documented, obviously, but people there are as happy as I am that we now could, so to say, lead that into one platform, and we don't have to open a new folder every time there's a shift handover. Also, 24-hour dialogue in the morning, instead of having 5 software tabs with some performance curves and whatnot, you can all have it in one platform, which makes it faster and easier to go through to have your morning dialogue. There's a lot of topics that are usually pressing. There's something overnight that happened. You want to save yourself some time and some effort to look for the information by having it in one platform. Also, the shop floor got quite interactive with introducing Shift Connector, which might sound a bit weird, but there is a mobile application for Shift Connector, which you can use on ATEX ready, or if it's not an ATEX environment you're working, also regular tablets or phones. And for example, one thing we did for all the manufacturing plants we have in we.CONECT, we introduced checklists for inspection rounds, which you can, so to say, a priori design. What do you want to check? Is it a SSHE topic, engineering? You just want to check if all the tools are in the right place, whatever. You take the mobile application. You don't need internet connection for it, only at the beginning when you start and at the end when you close the inspection round. Then you just go through the plant and have all the information later in Shift Connector instead of tracking it with camera or whatnot. I'm getting to an example later there. The app solves the burden of having it on different tools, printing it out, maybe signing it that you did the inspection round. One tool. Increased effectiveness through very stringent simplification. If you don't have to look for the camera, for example, or whatnot, and it's all where everything else is, less worries, more performance. Pretty simple. Second aspect to it, workflows. We also heard that before. Especially, as said, the shift handover. If you have 20,000 Excel files, that's pretty burdensome. Also, like if you then print it, you save the document in a folder, you have to sign it. That's not nice. I don't need to elaborate much more. If it's in one step, you save time, you save paper, which is also nice from a sustainability perspective. You also can expand this not only to the shift handover, but also MBR administration. So obviously we're not, so to say, doing all our MBRs in Shift Connector, but for example, if there is an indication that something in the MBR for the next batch should be changed, an official request can be raised in Shift Connector to the GMP operations team that are, so to say, doing the MBRs. And you, so to say, can prepare beforehand instead of having to send an email, hey, could we maybe think about doing that? Making it nice and easy for everybody looking at the same platform and not losing any oversight through lengthy email chains or whatever. Also, we're now using it in most of the plants for scheduling our turnover and maintenance. Set silent information if you have the engineering team sitting there and your production people sitting there. If you have scheduled at the beginning of the month that in 3 weeks you want to do turnover and then something in production happened, but you don't tell the engineering team, they will be pretty annoyed, to put it mildly, that they cannot access the plants if you're still running your production. Having that all in one tool with a nice calendar, assigned work tasks to the engineering people, nothing gets forgotten or nothing gets, so to say, overlooked. You, so to say, have everybody informed at, so to say, once you set up the notification that you have to reschedule, and things get easier for everybody with their calendars. So the efficiency, bottom line, with the workflows you can build in Shift Connector are heavily improved, and it's also made transparent for everybody who is involved and uses Shift Connector for their daily work, because they can see, okay, this is why it happened. You also can click on it, okay, is there any reasoning why we are moving this? So no lengthy explanations, no lengthy meetings, one platform. How does this help now making decision-making easier? As said before, the idea behind what we're trying to do at Bayer in terms of making organization more agile is to take decisions by the people who, so to say, should take them because they're closest to the problem you're trying to solve. How can you take an informed decision? It's a pretty suggestive question. If you have the information available on what you want to decide, it naturally comes way easier to say yes or no to something. And that is definitely improved by increasing the transparency, as elaborated before, that you have with Shift Connector if everybody is writing things in the same tool. Also, you don't need to prepare in other formats, in other documents. If everything is stored in the same platform, no preparation time, everything's aggregated to the right level. If things are important for the 24-hour dialogue, you flag it for it. If it's just an information for the shift, then you don't flag it for the 24-hour dialogue, and they're not bothered with it. Also, the accessibility is, so to say, guaranteed if you naturally have, so to say, access to a computer or the tablet. You also have, so to say, suitable visualization tools for most of the things you're doing there, tracking whatever KPIs you are tracking, and also the updating in real time helps that you don't lag, so to say, by just having offline information that you have to look at. As said before, nothing's overlooked. The right information are provided to the right people at the right time. I think that's actually a pretty nice phrase to close, and maybe the stance I want to end this on from a Bayer perspective, or from a customer perspective, so to say. I mean, digitalization in the end, whether you look at an MES or a tool that's not directly MES, but somehow taking the thought a bit further or in another direction, the more you make use of this in terms of digitalization or digitalizing your work in that way, and the more your processes are covered by it in terms of workflows, in terms of everybody looking at the same thing, the more you can actually focus on what you earn money with. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not making money with introducing new digital tools. We're making money with producing white powder that we sell to patients, hopefully in the best quality we can assure and in the right time in order to treat patients with our medication. So yeah, by first law of thermodynamics, less time spent on the processes is more times on the product, and I guess also not only speaking for Bayer, but this focus, at least for us, and I hope for all of you else who are interested, is definitely an enabler for decision making. Having said that, there might be some forward-looking statements in that presentation. There is actually a white paper that you, together with a couple of people at eschbach, wrote, accessible. Yeah.
Andreas.
Accessible through the QR code. Otherwise, also in direct contact with Thomas, I guess. You will all find us at the eschbach booth on the other side of the hall. And for all urgent questions, I'm pretty sure Thomas is as happy as me to answer them.